Warning. A very good morning to you all. Thank you for coming along today to our HSMA Open Day 2023. My name is Dan Chalk. I'm a Senior Research Fellow with Penark at the University of Exeter Medical School, and I'm also the lead for the HSMA programme. So today really is a celebration of the HSMA programme, and really more than anything, a celebration of our HSMAs and of the work they've done. The main thrust of today, most of today, is going to be our current HSMAs talking about the fantastic, impactful work that they've been doing over the last 15 months. And I know a lot of you are here who are new to the HSMA programme, who've come along to hear more about the programme and about and keen to apply for it. So in this introductory talk, I'm going to be talking to you about what the HSMA programme is, but also some of the changes that we've introduced. So those of you familiar with HSMA will find out a little bit more about how we're making changes for the next round. But really the focus of today is on our HSMAs, because what better way to find out about the programme than to hear from the people who are on the programme right now. So it's a pretty packed agenda that we've got today, as you'll have seen the itinerary, because we've literally got so much to sort of stuff into the day. I think we're going to have to go to a 2-day open day from next year. But broadly, we split this into 3 parts. This introductory part here now, I'll talk to you about the programme. We're also going to hear from one of our organisation's execs to talk about why HSMA matters to our organisation, and there'll be a bit of a chance for a bit of a Q&A with me. Now, if we do run a little bit over and we don't get as much time or any time for that, please don't worry. Please post any questions in the chat. Both Amy and Sammy are going to be answering questions in the chat as we go along, and I will also, after this morning, this initial introductory session, I'll be able to respond to questions as well. So please do, if you have questions, do pop them in the chat. We'll then move into the part 2 of the morning, where we start from our HSMA presentations, talking about their project work. So we have an initial block. We've got lots of comfort breaks built in, so don't worry. There's gonna be we know it's a long day. There's lots of breaks built in for you. We're going to hear a little from our external supporters, who are so crucial to the work that we do and keeping the programme running. We've also got some fantastic workshops, interactive workshops for you today as well. So you get to have a bit of a taste of what life is like on HSMA yourselves, and you get to learn something. So even if you come along to this, you don't actually come along to the programme itself. Well, actually, you'll hopefully still go away and be able to learn something and take away some new skills with you. So we've got some really nice introductory workshops for you, and we'll talk more about those a little bit later. Then back to some more presentations before lunch, and then this afternoon, similar pattern. We've got a fantastic little mini presentation to welcome us back from lunch. Series of presentations. and then another round of workshops. So the workshops, there'll be 3 on at any one time, and you can choose which ones you go to, either by staying in the main room or by going to one of the breakout rooms, and we'll explain all that as the time comes. And then we close today with a final batch of presentations, including a fantastic presentation that we've got from one of our HSMA alumni, who's going to be talking about the fantastic work that he's done since coming onto the programme last year. So let's start talking about the HSMA programme. What is it? It's probably a good place to start. So HSMA stands for the Health Service Modelling Associates Programme, and it's basically a programme that's for staff who are working in health, social care and policing organisations, who either are working in some kind of analytical role, as most of our cohort are, or have some sort of capacity to be able to do the kind of stuff that we're teaching. So you don't have to be an analyst. In fact, we've had many successful stories from GPs, from service improvement managers, from other types of roles other than analysts. And we'll go into that a bit more detail later. But you have to have some sort of capability and capacity to be able to translate the skills that you're going to learn into things that are going to be useful for your organisation. So it's a big programme. This is a day a week commitment for 15 months. So it's a big thing, but hopefully you get a lot back. And what you get in those 15 months is split into 2 phases. So the first phase is an extensive training programme which teaches programming from first principles. You don't need to have coded before. If you have, great. If you have in Python, even better, because we're going to be teaching Python, and that's most of what we use. But don't worry if you've not. Most people that come onto this course have never coded before, and certainly never done Python in the vast majority of cases. Don't worry, we will teach programming from first principles. We use techniques that how I taught myself when I was 4 years old, and that seems to work quite well. So don't panic about that. We teach you various operational research methods, which I'll come back to in a second, and data science methods. And it really is an extensive data science and modelling training programme. That spans 6 months. And during those 6 months, we show you a whole smorgasbord of interesting things that you can do. Basically everything that we do within our research team. But the core of this programme, the real heart of this programme, comes in phase 2. Because this is very much not a training programme in which you learn some cool stuff and you think, oh, that's nice, and then you never use it again. This is absolutely the opposite of that. The whole point of this training programme is we teach you all these cool things, and then you immediately, in phase 2, apply some of the stuff you've learned to a project, a real-world project that addresses a problem in your organisation. And we support you and we guide you through that process, but you take on that project. You do an actual real world thing based on the new skills that you've learned. And it's those real world projects that you're going to be hearing about today from our HSMAs. And we call phase 2 the Inception project, and that lasts for 9 months. Another thing that's worth flagging up, this course, we are centrally funded and we offer this course free of charge to any participating organisations. So there's a lot of stuff in here that you're getting essentially for free. And the entire course is delivered entirely online. So it doesn't matter where you are in the country, you can join us and we deliver it live and online. So I keep talking about operational research and data science. I suspect many of you will have heard of data science and perhaps even know something about that. Perhaps fewer will know about operational research. So let's just explain what we mean by those things. Operational research, often abbreviated to OR, basically uses modelling, simulation and analytical techniques to try and help inform some sort of operational decisions within an organisation. So an example operational research question might be, okay, where are the delays in our emergency department processes and how might we reduce them? Can we build a model and try something out to see if that would work? Where are the problems in our GP surgery? Where are the delays in our process from referral to the pathway from referral to treatment for our cancer patients? Where should we locate our services? These are operational research questions. Okay, data science is very similar, but comes at it from the data perspective. So operational research starts with the system, data science starts with the data. So it uses approaches such as artificial intelligence, data analysis to try and generate some insight from the data that you have. So an equivalent data science question might say something like, well, can we teach a machine to try and predict when an emergency department is going to breach a target? Can we teach a machine to predict when we should give clot busting treatment to a stroke patient? It's those kinds of questions that we can use data science for. And within this course, within HSMA, you'll see both of these things, and you'll see a huge range of different techniques that can be used. And underpinning this all is that it's an applied, practical course that will help the operational management of your organisation and hopefully improve lives for your service users. So why do we do this? What are the aims of the HSMA programme? Fundamentally, we have 6 key aims for the programme. The first is to try and embed the operational research and data science techniques within organisations, within health, social care and policing organisations that we're working with. We want you to be able to have those skills in-house to be able to do this kind of stuff. And in line with that, that will help to increase the level of evidence-based decision-making, that things aren't just being made on a whim or based on poor evidence, or you're trying something out and seeing if it will work, which obviously can have real safety implications, particularly when you're dealing with people's lives. We want to try and develop the skills of our health, social care and policing analysts and other staff. And we want to create a collaborative community of embedded operational researchers and data science ambassadors. Okay, this is a really important part of HSMA and something that you'll see time and again today. This is a huge part of what we do within the HSMA programme. It is a big collaborative community where we bring together people from different organisations, from different parts of the country, from different sectors even, working together and sharing knowledge and collaborating to tackle common problems. That's a big part of what we do. And going, just sort of touch on that really, developing and fostering collaboration. We have mechanisms in place, and I'll talk more about those shortly, to enable people to do that. And lastly, a really key point about our research team, Pencord, is that we do this kind of stuff. We do this kind of research, and we teach it via the HSMA programme, and we support those skills. But one of the core identities of our team is the fact that we are an entirely open science team. We believe fundamentally in the principle of open science. We believe that if you are building things that will change people's lives, hopefully for the better, people have a right to be able to see why those changes were made, how you came to those conclusions, to question what you've done. And so in line with that, all of the skills that we teach within the programme are free and open source skills. We teach only free and open source software. That also has the advantage there are no cost barriers. You don't have to buy costly software. But it also means that this stuff can be shared freely with others. And that's a really important point of what we do. So just to introduce you to the HSMA sub-team, there's myself, Dan Chalk. I've led the programme since its inception back in 2016, and I also train on a number of the modules of the programme. We've got Sammy, who joined us very recently. She's been part of our team for a little while, but has joined us the HSMA programme quite recently, but has a fantastic experience in teaching, and also some real valuable frontline experience working in a mental health trust in Devon, and actually is aware of the challenges that many of you face. We've got Amy, who's our administrator, and helping to probably one of the most important roles from your perspective for Amy is actually tracking the impact, tracking all the fantastic things that you are going to go off and do. And then we've got Chrissy, who's our research manager for our team. He's basically helping to keep the lights on in the background, making sure that everything is running as it should, and helping to grow and evolve the programme. And my goodness, has this programme grown and evolved. So to clarify, our programme, the HSMA programme, is delivered by our research team, the Pencord research team. We sit within the NIHR, the National Institute for Health Research, Peninsula Applied Research Collaboration, or PENARC. Which you may have heard of, and we basically sit within the University of Exeter. So we're ultimately academics. Just a bit about the history. I mentioned I've led this since we started in 2016, And it really has grown in that time. So back when we started this program in 2016, we piloted it. We didn't know if this was going to work. We thought we were on to something quite interesting and quite useful. But I don't think we appreciated the scale of where this was going to go. So we started with just 6 HSMAs, just based in Southwest England, because that was our funding patch for PennArc. And we had 2 days of training, and it was a 12-month program. Okay, so you had a couple of days of training, and then you went off and did. And it was only training in one of the methods that we now teach. We had a lot of success from that program, though. We had an evaluation that showed actually it was having a lot of impact, and we had great feedback. So much so that when we got to launch HSMA 2, we did it all over again. We had 52 applications for the program. We had 7 for the first round. Went to 52 within just over a year. We took forward 26 of those HSMAs, again, just in Southwest England. By this point, we'd gone up to 6 days of training. We started to look at other methods that we could teach. By 2020, well, I'm sure you're all aware of something happened in 2020 that affected all of us. And so we decided, actually, there was a big role for modelling and data science to support some of the real pressing issues that were coming up within health and social care organisations. So we switched to an online model. And we had 52 HSMAs, again, still Southwest England, but we did have a little bit of funding just to trial out a bit of police involvement as well, having police working alongside our health and social care partners. And that was a great success and something that's been built into the programme ever since. We had a bit of a jump in terms of the training. We went up to 17 days. It's increasing quite rapidly. We're basically now getting to the point where let's just teach them everything we do and see what things stick. Which things are going to be useful for them. That was a huge success, and because of that success, because the way in which we adapted our model to work online, we thought, well, maybe we'd had a lot of interest before in people outside of the Southwest in joining the programme. So we ran a little pilot to see if there was interest outside of our region in being part of HSMA. That year, we had over 300 people contact us saying they were interested in being part of HSMA 4. That was phenomenal. And that really showed us that there was a real appetite for this nationally. We took forward 80 HSMAs all across England, and we'd gone up to 23 days of training by this point. We were adapting as a team, learning new things, and finding out what would be useful to help upskill other people as well. Then we come on to the round that we're going to be talking about today, that you are going to see presentations from today, the HSMA 5, where we managed to secure some funding to support the continued national delivery of this programme. And we took on a record 113 HSMAs from all across England, 27 days of training. Why not? Is HSMA 6 going to go up? Probably. I tried streamlining the training and ended up with more training hours. Only I could manage that, but there we are. And this brand new 15-month structure, because we now had so much training, we couldn't cram it all into 3 months at the start at a day a week. People were having to have 2-3 days a week, which isn't practical. So we've gone to a 6-month training structure now and a 15-month overall structure to keep that 1 day a week policy. And then, of course, we've got HSMA 6, which many of you are here today hoping to join. I'm going to talk more about HSMA 6 in a moment. That's going to launch in April next year. And I'm going to talk about the application process, which opens today. Indeed, I believe it is open as of 20 minutes ago. And we will talk to you more about the application process and what we're looking for in a bit. So let's just take stock. Since 2016, and sitting in a room with 6 fantastic pioneers, and they really were pioneers, who were, going into the unknown with this. We ate a lot of cake. That was a good thing. We don't get so much cake now. That's a disappointment of going online. Nonetheless, there are many advantages. But since that time, we've worked with over 270 HSMAs from over 80 health, social care, and policing organisations. That is phenomenal. And it shows the appetite for this stuff, but B, how many people are out there that actually are able to do this stuff. And for me personally, seeing people develop their skills, and be able to translate the stuff that we teach them into stuff that is going to make a real difference for people's lives is amazing. That's an amazing feeling, and that's why I do HSMA. And we really have had significant impact from this program. It really has been amazing to watch and to see over the years what people have done with the skills that we've shown them. These are just, I mean, we've got about 40 impact stories on the website alone, and that even just touches the tip of the iceberg. But here's a few sort of highlights from over the years. We've got a fantastic project in HSMA 3, GP from North Devon, never coded before, or certainly never coded in Python before. Obviously, HSMA 3 started sort of peak pandemic. We taught him how to code in Python. We taught him how to build discrete event simulations, which we're going to talk about today, to model queuing problems. As that was happening, the mass vaccination program was coming in, and they were being, as a GP surgery, asked to set up their vaccination service. He looked at that, he looked at what he just learnt and thought, I think I can model that. So he did. So he modelled what they were going to do, found out it wasn't going to work. The model showed that there was a problem with what they proposed. So they changed it and managed to deliver a really efficient vaccination service. Amazing. Never coded before. We've had fantastic work from last year. Shilpa, who did some brilliant work from University College London, who basically worked with their emergency department to try and model a couple of different scenarios to try and improve the urgent care treatment. And they went from being a trust that was really struggling to one of the top performing trusts because of that model. That's amazing. Back from HSMA 1, we had a great guy called Carl who did some fantastic work looking to try and use modelling to show the resourcing they'd need to stop sending so many people in mental health crisis out of area, away from their friends, their families, their support networks. That model, fairly simple modelling work, was hugely instrumental in a business case that led to a new £12 million mental health facility being built. There's now a building that you can go to because of an HSMA project. That blows my mind. We've had fantastic work from a lot of people from NHS England who've come along to the course, who've worked on some fantastic national level projects, including this one, which was looking at patient-initiated follow-up to try and reduce waiting times in rheumatology services. They found a way to get rid of the backlog, and they found the resourcing they need to do that. Again, amazing, considering the immense pressures the service is under. And it's not just the projects that have impact. The very fact that you are engaging with this program will have an impact on you and your organisation. We have seen teams, brand new modelling and data science teams, come about as a result of people engaging this program. And one of our most famous examples was at University Hospitals Plymouth. After HSMA 2, they loved what their HSMA had done on the program and thought, we need to build a team out of this. And so he went on to lead that team. And we have somebody here today who is from that team. And they are now recruiting more people with exactly the kind of skills that we teach on the HSMA program. That's phenomenal. So let's talk a bit about the training, which I brushed over a little bit earlier. So in the phase 1 training, which is your 6-month training phase, you'll basically attend a training session every week. It's on a Tuesday. And they run from 9:30 to 4:30, and we have a break, obviously, for lunch. They are live and they are online, and they basically contain a mix of live lectures. So you get a bit of us talking to you and teaching you how to do something. You'll then get work to go off in your groups, and you will try that thing out, and you'll talk about something, and then you'll come back and you'll show us something that you've done. Also some whole cohort interactive content, games, discussions that we have in there. But these are really mixed days. So you don't have sort of 2-hour lectures or anything like that. We burst it so that you have often a lot of the lectures are about 30 to 40 minutes ish. And then you go off and you practice what you've learned. You try it hands-on, and you support each other within your groups to do that. So most of the approaches we teach, as I mentioned, use the Python programming language, but you do not need any prior Python knowledge. You do not need any prior coding knowledge. You will be taught programming from first principles. As I mentioned, it's a pretty extensive syllabus that we teach. It's split across 8 modules. The first being a general sort of introduction to OR and data science and what it means to undertake one of these projects and the kind of things you'll need to think about when you're working with your stakeholders, etc., and some of the techniques that we're going to show you. But fundamentally, that module is primarily to get you primed in programming and Python for the rest of it. Before we then go into showing you how to model pathway and queuing problems using discrete event simulation, so you too can model your vaccination clinic. How to do geographic modelling and visualization. That's modelling where you're saying, okay, we need to work out where we place our services. Where do we place our mobile van? What happens if we shut down these services in terms of the coverage and the equity of access? Those kind of questions. Machine learning is a massive module for us. In fact, it's the biggest module of the training program. I don't think you could fail to notice the big impact that AI and machine learning has had and is continuing to have. And we teach you some pretty complex stuff, but hopefully in a very accessible way, so you can go off and do some fantastic machine learning work, but also ethically. And ethics is a big part of what we teach within that module. Natural language processing, taking all that free text data that you've got that you can't really do anything with up to now, and showing you how to use AI-based techniques to extract information from that text. Really useful, really powerful for a lot of health, social care and policing data. Modelling behaviour and system dynamics, looking at how we look at the way in which people behave within a system and how that affects things, how the system is structured and how that affects things. Open source collaborative development, which is focused on building web apps. So this complex stuff that you're doing is usable and accessible by managers and by other people who don't have these skills and aren't the kind of people that are going to want to develop those skills, but still want to be able to see and use the evidence that these models generate. We also teach you Git and GitHub in that, which is always fun. And I put that in inverted commas deliberately, but it is important. And then last, we've got a brand new module for this year, Modern Analytics and Pathway Analysis, we've called it. This is a module that Sammy's going to lead. I think perhaps a better title for it would be cool things you can do in your day job with these skills. Actually, recognizing that these, a lot of the stuff that you're going to be doing if you're working in an analytical role won't fit into some of this stuff. But actually, there's still better ways that you can approach some of the things that you're doing, and that module's for that. So to flag up, the program is accredited by AFA. Many of you will be familiar with AFA, the Association of Professional Healthcare Analysts. In fact, it is the first ever training program to be accredited by AFA. And we also have certification available, which is provided by Credible. It's an optional assessment that you take. You don't have to take it, but at the end of the training phase, if you'd like a certificate, you take a little certification assessment, and that will provide you with a certificate of completion for the program if you'd like that. I think hopefully all of the HSMAs that are here will agree that I always try to make the assessments as fun as possible. If you don't believe me, the last 2 assessments were based on the Crystal Maze and Nightmare, the old children's TV program, so they're always interesting. I always try to be as friendly as possible. A big important point of the training is that we've got big cohorts and there are only a few of us. And so at the start of the program, you will be allocated to a peer support group. Think of it a bit like a tutor group. And you'll have about 10 of you in there. Within that group, you'll be mixed up with HSMAs from different organisations, different sectors, different places of the country, and you'll get to work together, and you'll be working solidly together for the 6 months of training. That will become your home. All of the exercises that we set during the training sessions, you will go off and do in your peer support groups. You will work together on everything, and you have your own channel on the HSMA Community Hub, which we'll talk more about at the moment. The idea is that these groups allow you to support each other, to work on tasks together, and sometimes we have little friendly competitions as well, where you get to compete with each other. This is a fundamental part of being in the program, working together collaboratively in the group. You will have mixed abilities. There will be people that have coded before and are able to grasp this stuff more quickly. It's a pretty intense program, so other people may feel they're struggling. It's a really important part of the program to make sure that the peer support groups are supporting each other and working together to make sure that everyone is able to feel supported and engage with this stuff that we're teaching. So as well as the training sessions, which obviously are compulsory for anybody on the HSMA program, we do also have optional sessions that are available and that we encourage you to utilise as well. Again, this is all free for you. We have revision sessions. These are sessions that will be led by Sammy that take place after every module. And it's basically a way, if you didn't understand something about the module, it didn't quite click with you, it's a way to come along and get a bit more one-to-one support, try out some different exercises, ask some questions, go back over stuff, just to really help cement it in your mind. And we also have project development clinics as well. These are clinics where you can come along with your ideas, because you'll be starting to think about ideas during the training for what your projects might look like. And myself and Sammy and others within the technical team will be available and on hand to provide you some advice and guidance to help you structure what that project might look like. So I mentioned that a key purpose of the program is getting you to work on your projects. Okay, that's the heart of this. It's getting you to apply those skills that we're teaching to something real and important and impactful. And so within phase 2, you undertake what we call the Inception project. It is a rumour that I was watching the film Inception when I came up with this name. That rumour is true. Nonetheless, it is a good name. And the reason it's a good name is because it indicates that this is hopefully the first of many projects that you do. This is your kind of your Inception project, your first project, where we will support you to take those first steps into running a modelling and data science project. But the whole purpose of this is that you are then building that capacity within your organisations to do this stuff. So basically, within phase 1, during the training phase, you're starting to develop project ideas, and you can register any project idea you like, as long as it's an area that we cover in the HSMA program. That's so that you can access people who know what they're talking about, or at least pretend to know what they're talking about. It must use free and open source approaches, which, if you meet the first criterion, has to be the case because we only teach that. And the application area has to be in health, social care or policing, which, given that you have to be in health, social care or policing, is likely. So it's pretty easy to tick those boxes. And as long as it meets those criteria, that you can go on and do anything you like. And you register that project. It goes onto a project register. You get a project code. How exciting is that? Really is tremendously exciting. But perhaps more exciting, you get a channel on the HSMA Community Hub, which I'll talk about in a moment. I keep teasing it. Basically, you get a dedicated platform to allow you to form a project team, to work with other people, to ask for help, to shout about, hey, I've done this really amazing thing. Look at this. Does anybody else want to hear about it? Because it might be useful. You post updates, you collaborate with others. It's a really important aspect of what you do. And support is provided by our HSMA community, primarily by myself and Sammy, the HSMA trainers, but also we've got a research team sitting behind us who are there to provide advice and guidance and have lots of areas of special expertise. We've got a huge community of modelling and data science academics and practitioners who've come into the HSMA community to mentor, to support people. And we've also got all of the people that have been through the HSMA program who are now going on to do this stuff, and you can tap into their advice. So as of this morning, I think we've got over 330 people in that community. It's a big community, and it's about to jump up again when HSMA 6 hits. Also, during your project phase, we hold what we call monthly HSMA forums. These are basically 2-hour meetings where you can come along to talk about your project. You might want a bit of a one-to-one advice. You might want to just float an idea past someone. You might want to do a little mini presentation and say, look, I've done this thing. What do people think about that? Get some feedback, and basically a way to collaborate together. And it's a really important aspect to try and link up with each other. And A great example of that is that, so these forums are kind of new, but we've run them as learning set meetings for the last 5 iterations. And the principle is the same. And we saw this year a couple of people adopt Streamlit, which is a platform for developing web applications. They were so amazed by what these HSMAs have done. I think virtually all of the HSMAs have now used Streamlit. Okay, so these are powerful platforms for collaborating. A really important point to make: these projects, we will support you and we will mentor you and we will guide you, but they are your projects. They are owned by you and by your organizations because they are tackling your problems. And so we encourage you to work with others from the HSMA community, from different organizations, different sectors, and form a project team, because many of you will be tackling common problems. At the end of the program, you'll present your work at the HSMA conference, basically this, although it may look slightly different for HSMA 6. And some projects where we think there may be academic publication potential, we'll actually work with you to build that up into an academic publication. And in fact, there's a fantastic example of exactly that, where I worked with a chap called Richard Pilbury, who was on for HSMA 4, and his team, Madeline and Jonathan, who did this fantastic work doing some discrete event simulation modelling for looking at the demand for primary care services as a result of 111 referrals. We got that published in BMJ Open. That's really cool. Okay, it's important for us as academics because, rightly or wrongly, we have to produce stuff in journals. That's how one of the ways in which we're measured in terms of our career. But it's important, I think, for you as well to see the real world impact of your work and to point to something and say, I did that and I can be proud of that. Another really important point that I'd like to stress as well is the patient and public involvement angle, because actually PenArc, our organisation, has a really proud history of delivering really impactful patient and public involvement work. And our research team within the organisation, PenCord, we have a lot of experience working with that the PenPeg public engagement group, the big stream of work that's going on in stroke. My colleague Mike Allen, there's a lot of work going on with PenPeg on that. We fundamentally believe within our HSMA sub-team that it is vitally important that patients are involved in research, because this stuff affects them. In fact, all the things I was saying about open science and why open science is so important, it's exactly the same point here, that working with patients, the people that are going to be affected, they have a right to have a voice in the thing that's affecting them. And so as part of the HSMA programme, you will be taught the importance of PPI. You will be given advice on how to do this and how to work with patients and the public, and signposted to resources. And you're going to hear one of our final presentations today, later this afternoon, fantastic example of a team doing exactly that and actually changing what they were planning to do based on the voice of the public, and coming up with things that they hadn't even considered. That's really, really powerful and something I'm really proud of. One thing to flag up here is that HSMAs and your organisations, try not to see the HSMA programme as you go on this training programme for 15 months and then we wave you goodbye. That's not what this thing is. The whole point of coming onto this programme is that you get lots of free training. You get supported to do an initial project, but then you stay in the community. And the idea is that if you are then working on another project, suddenly your organisation has this problem, you can look over and say, wait a minute, I think that's a geographic modelling problem. I learned about that on the HSMA programme. You can register a project and say, hey, HSMA community, I'm going to be working on this. I could do with some advice. We'll give you advice. We'll give you support. And you get access, permanent access to that support and advice network from the community. And that's a fantastic opportunity. So try not to see it as a 15-month programme. It's indoctrination into a supportive community via a pretty intense training programme. And to support you to do that, towards the end of that phase 2, we also have a number of next step clinics, which will help you think about ways in which you could take these skills further. So I'm conscious of time. I'm going to whittle through these last bits, but just to say the HSMA Community Hub, which I've mentioned a few times, those of you familiar with Slack will recognise this as a Slack workspace. This represents the primary means of communication on the programme. We've got dedicated channels on that workspace for general announcements, shouting about things, telling you where to get training resources, telling you how to download stuff ready for your next training session, general chatter, memes if you like. A coding clinic we've got on there, so any coding questions you've got, you can post them in the coding clinic. An impact studio for impact stories. You get a channel for every project, a channel for every peer support group, and even a high score table for the HSMA game. Yes, we have a game within HSMA. Of course we do. Why wouldn't we? This is really the fundamental place where people come together to collaborate, to ask questions, and to gain support. And it's a hugely important aspect of the HSMA programme. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the practicalities now, just to before we sort of finish off. So you're going to need a number of software requirements to join the HSMA programme. And as I mentioned before, all of these packages are free and open source. Now, the reason I'm flagging this up now, all this information is in the application pack, but it is worth flagging up now because if you are considering applying to this programme, I would strongly, and I speak from experience, and I'm sure the HSMAs are nodding, I can't see them, but are nodding in agreement, you should absolutely have a word with your IT departments to get this software installed, probably now, long before you've even applied. And the reason I say that, this stuff can take a while to get installed, can take a while to get approved, and sometimes you'll get a bit of pushback initially, but you will work through it, okay? We also recommend, if it's an option for you, to install this software on a personal machine as well. All of the stuff we do in the training is sort of made up dummy examples, so there are no issues in doing this, any of the stuff in the training on a personal machine. But it's worth having that as a backup in case there are delays, because you'll need this pretty much from day one of training. So the full software requirements are available here, and they'll also be sent out in your application pack. But just to give you an idea, the primary thing you're going to need is a distribution in the Python language and an IDE. We recommend Anaconda as the distribution and Microsoft VS Code as the IDE, although you can use what you like. A piece of software called QGIS for our geographic visualization work. Git for version control, and a couple of other sort of recommended bits. So a free Google account, which you've probably already got, and a free Insight Maker account for the stuff that we're going to use for system dynamics. And Zoom and Slack apps, though Zoom we use for the lectures, Slack obviously for the community hub. You can use the web interfaces, but because you're going to be using those so extensively, I would try and get the apps. You get a lot better experience on that. I'm not going to go through these bits, except to say that, and I'm conscious of the time, except to say that I'm going to flag up Windows, which we know most of you are going to be using, is not really great for data science. Okay, we're aware of that. In fact, that's why within our research team we don't use Windows; we use Linux for our research work. And unfortunately, it's a reality that that's not the case within health, social care, and policing organisations. However, there are ways around this, and obviously the ideal situation is say, hey, I'm going to install Linux now. Probably not an option for most of you, but don't worry, there are ways around this information. It will also be in your application packs, and it involves using Windows Subsystem for Linux. That's a option, hopefully, that's available to at least some of you. Don't panic if it isn't. All of the software, something to flag up, all of the things we teach, I am on Windows now because I have taken the hit, and all of the teaching that we do is at the moment in Windows to make sure it will work for you. Okay, but just be aware that Windows is not ideal for this, and there are packages that you will use that we will teach you that are being abandoned on Windows. So you might be able to use it now, but it's going to go out of date. It's worth flagging that up, but it doesn't mean you have to uninstall Windows. You can still use Windows and use something called Windows Subsystem for Linux if you want to future-proof yourself. But don't panic. We know most of you are using Windows. You will be able to come on the course with Windows, and we will teach you in that way. So there's lots of information there. These slides will all be shared, so you can read it in there, and it's also in your application packs. But I just wanted to get to the final bit, which is how to apply for this program, because that's what I suspect many of you who are here want to know. As I mentioned, the applications are open today. They are open right now. We have about 100 places available. Okay, I say about because we can go slightly over that if we need to. We did last year with our 113, but just to give you a ballpark figure of the amount we're looking at, it means we can't go to 200, 300, but we're looking at about 100. Don't let that put you off. There are a lot of people here today. There are a lot of people that signed up that are coming along later as well. Don't let that put you off. Okay, don't let us worry about the places. We will always do whatever we can to ensure that people who we think are really good fits for this course come on the course. So we will always try and prioritise that. So applications are open now. They will close at just before midnight on the 4th of March 2024, and you will be notified whether you are successful or not by the 18th of March at the latest, and then successful applicants will begin the programme on Tuesday the 16th of April with our very first and brand new training session. So if you're already on the mailing list, or when you signed up for the open day, you ticked the box saying I'd like to be on the mailing list, you'll get an application pack automatically, that will come through. If you're not on the mailing list, you're aware of that, contact pencord@exeter.ac.uk and we will be able to send you an application pack. The pack will basically consist of a link to the online application form, as well as the application pack itself, which includes general information for applicants. It's a fairly lengthy document, but please do read through all of that. It has some really important information in it. A person spec, which outlines the kind of person we're looking for in the HSMA programme. A software requirements document, which goes over in detail the software you need and where to download it. As well as all the key dates for the programme. So all of the training dates, they're already all set, so you can see exactly when you'll be needed. Don't panic. We know that people will go on leave and stuff. So, if you're on holiday for 2 weeks, we're aware of that. You will be able to catch up with stuff. But generally we would expect people to come along to all of the training programs, except in circumstances like that. To be eligible to apply, you have to have a role in a health, social care, policing or related organisation, might be third sector, public health, and you have to be based in England. Okay. It may not be your primary role, but you have to have a foot in that in an organisation. Okay, so we've had people that come on the course who technically are employed by a university, but actually they do a lot of their work with an acute trust, for example, and they would be able to use the skills within that trust. So if you can answer the question, can I use the skills within one of those organisations because I have a foot in the door there, then you are eligible. You can't be employed by a commercial organisation. That's a restriction on our funding. And really importantly, you have to have the full support of your organisation as well. And as I say, all of the dates are in the key dates document. Hopefully there will be no changes, but trying to plan 15 months of training, a couple of years in advance is difficult. It may be the case that we have to change a little bit. We'll try and keep that to a minimum. I can't pretend I will never be ill for 15 months. Sammy will never be ill, etc. So things might happen, but we always communicate that in advance and what the plan would be. So don't worry about that. What are we looking for? Just more information in the person spec, but basically you need to have some sort of advanced computer literacy. You don't have to have coded before, but you need to know your way around a computer, and you need to, understand what a computer is and be able to use it in a slightly advanced way. Because we're going to teach you coding, we're going to teach you how to build machine learning models. So you need to be the kind of person that's going to be okay with that. You need to find the idea of learning this stuff interesting, and fundamentally, you want to apply this stuff in your role, and you have the support of your organisation to do that. What this programme isn't is just something that you go along so you can tick a box on your personal development form. That's not what this programme is. There's lots of courses out there that will teach you those kind of things. It will do that, but it will also do so much more. And we're really looking for people that are going to use this stuff, because that's how we as an organisation are measured in terms of the impact we're having. And that's why I do HSMA, because I want to see that impact. So with that in mind, the application form basically checks this stuff, and it has primarily just 2 questions. It's a pretty lightweight application form, and we're really looking for these things primarily. One thing I do want to flag up, though, just before I stop talking, is that you will learn a lot of stuff in HSMA. A lot of it will be cutting edge. A lot of it will be quite complicated. That doesn't mean it's not for you. Okay, there can often be a perception amongst people that, oh, I can't do that kind of stuff. That's for the academics. That's for the people those people over there, whoever they are. Today, I hope more than anything will prove that that's completely untrue. You're going to see a series of presentations from people who are exactly the same as you, who have been through the training program. They started with no knowledge of Python, etc. They didn't know what a discrete event simulation was, and they're now going to show you impactful and applied work that they've done. We will support you, and if this is something that you think you're interested in, and you've got the support of your organisation to actually use the stuff you're going to learn, then believe in yourself and apply for this program, because it is for you. Okay, so I want to make that perfectly clear. Do not be put off thinking, oh, I don't think I'm the kind of person. You see those people, those boffins who use build machine learning models. Well, do you know what? You can do it too. There's not much to it, and we'll show you. We'll peel back the curtain and show you that magic. Okay, I've gone over by a little bit, so I apologise for that. You will get used to that in the course. Just say here's some key links to our resource site, which has lots of information about the programme. Again, all these links will be in your application pack. Our YouTube channel, where you get to watch all of the previous lectures, including the ones that will go up for HSMA 6. We've got, in fact, over 1,300 subscribers to that now, as well as our GitHub organisation. We make all of our training materials, both the lectures and the materials and the code, available free and open source. Of course we do. And then finally, of course, the most important resource of all, if you watched the opening of this presentation and thought, I really want that loading screen for my ZX Spectrum, well, there you go. You can actually run that either on an emulator or a ZX Spectrum, and you get my face appear within 3 minutes with a screeching sound. How anybody couldn't want that, I do not know. And on that bombshell, I will hand over to Kristen, our Deputy Director of PennArc, who's going to talk about why this stuff that I just talked about is important for our organisation.
Hi, thank you, Dan. I didn't really understand what I could get in order to get your face on my screen, but it did sound really cool. Hi, everybody. I'm Kristen Diaba. I am Deputy Director for PennArc. So PennArc stands for Applied Research Collaboration, Southwest Peninsula, and we are funded by the National Institute for Health and Care Research. So PennArc is one of 15 in the country. And we specifically cover Devon, Cornwall and Somerset, although we do work nationally as well through various collaborations. And all the NHS trusts in these regions and other service organisations are very important partners. And the HSMA is a core part of our partnership work in the region and regionally. And we are just so proud of the HSMA and how it delivers to our core aim. So ARCs were set up to research and build capacity that directly addresses problems that services, managers, staff, patients, families, and communities face in their day-to-day kind of life and working life as well as private life. And so the ARCs are about doing research that responds to real-world challenges. It's not blue sky research. It's anchored in the world around us. And if we are to understand what problems and challenges people are facing in their various roles, we really need to create meeting points between researchers, educators, and the world outside of the university. So we sort of need to stand with a half our body in the university and half our body outside of it. And the HSMA really enables exactly that and does it extremely well through the practical training approach that Dan has just described to you. So it's that meeting of staff from services and technical research experts. Dan mentioned PennCord and the researchers that work within that team. The HSMA offers that kind of connection, primarily within Dan and Sami as the people that are funded to do this educational work. But that interchange of knowledge between services on the one hand and research university teams on the other, that means the HSMA is completely core to PennArc meeting its aim of responding to problems and supporting problem solving to the ultimate benefit of communities and individual service users and the service system. And I think we've just seen from the examples that Dan has given us how incredibly impactful it can be. So I'm not going to go into that. Also, you will hear more about that throughout the day. But I will add at the end to say that we are not just proud of HSMA as a program, but particularly proud that we have such an inspirational teaching team in Dan and Sammy. So I hope you have an insightful and inspiring day as you delve into the HSMA experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Kristen. Really kind words. And yeah, absolutely. I think, we very much see HSMA as being meeting so many of the objectives of the ARC, and we're really proud that it does. And it's fantastic to see so much of what we're going to see presented today actually tick those boxes. So fantastic. Apologies. So we now have technically 1 minute for questions. I'm just going to ask Amy, is there anything sort of pressing that people have asked that you can't answer, or that I can't now answer over the course of the day, or that I didn't answer after they asked it?
Just someone asking about mentoring, and obviously the structure of that's changed slightly this year, so it might be worth just saying a little thing about that now.
Yeah, so basically how mentoring will work is that, so it used to be the case that somebody would get a dedicated mentor. That won't be the case. All the projects will be community mentored now. And the idea of that is that anybody can shout for help, and those people in the community will be able to chip in with their particular areas of expertise. So we've got lots of people in the community who have particular areas of expertise in machine learning, natural language processing, discrete event simulation. Most of the support will primarily come from myself and Sammy as the trainers, but we will be able to tap into all of the other support that's out there as well. So that's a really important point about what we do, and that will vastly expand the capacity for being able to take on new projects. So we're really excited about that. But don't worry, you will be supported, and we've already started to try it out this year, and it seems to be working really well. So hopefully this is a way that everybody can sort of chip in with the bits they know best. And we've got a whole research team, Pencord, who have their own expertise that can chip in as well.